I paid rent for my brother and his girlfriend, but when I needed help, they laughed and said, "Not our problem." So I quietly stopped paying, and a month later. For months, I had been covering my younger brother Jason's rent. Not just his girlfriend Lisa's too. It started as a favor, a way to help him get on his feet after losing his job. I never really questioned it. He was my brother, and family helped family, right? At first, he promised it was temporary. "Just a couple of months, man. I'll pay you back as soon as I land something solid." I didn't need him to pay me back, I just wanted to help. But months passed, and the excuses piled up. "The job market is tough. Lisa is trying to get more hours at work. We're really close to getting a break." I never pushed too hard. I figured, hey, I had a steady job. I could afford to help them. I never expected anything in return. But life has a way of flipping the script when you least expect it. One day, out of nowhere, I got laid off. Just like that, no warning, no severance, just a short, impersonal meeting where my boss thanked me for my service and handed me a box for my things. The moment I left the office, my mind was racing. Rent, bills, savings, how long could I last? The weight of uncertainty pressed down on me, but I took a deep breath and told myself it would be okay. I just needed a little time to figure things out. I swallowed my pride and reached out to Jason. I didn't ask for much, just a little help covering my rent for a month or two while I got back on my feet. After everything I'd done for him, I thought he'd understand. But when I told him, he just laughed. Lisa laughed too. "That sucks, man," Jason said, shaking his head. "But, not our problem." Something in me snapped. For a moment I thought I misheard him. "What?" I asked, my voice calm, but tight. Jason leaned back on his couch, stretching his arms over his head like this was the most casual conversation in the world. "Dude, I get it. Losing your job sucks. But we've got our own stuff going on." Lisa smirked, shaking her head like I was some kind of idiot. "We're barely scraping by ourselves. You know how hard it is out there." I blinked at them, trying to process what was happening. I had covered their rent for 7 months. Paid their utilities. Even spotted them extra cash when they said they couldn't afford groceries. And now, the second I needed anything, they were acting like I was a stranger? I tried again, forcing my voice to stay level. "I'm not asking for much. Just some help for now. You wouldn't even have a roof over your head if it weren't for me." Jason rolled his eyes. "Look, man, we appreciate everything you've done, okay? But we never asked you to." Lisa nodded, her arms crossed. "Exactly. That was your choice. We didn't force you." I felt my hands clench into fists. I had never expected them to grovel or sing my praises, but this? This was disrespect. Jason saw the look on my face and let out an awkward chuckle. "Come on, don't get all weird about it. You'll figure something out. You always do." I stood up slowly, something inside me hardening. "Yeah," I said quietly, turning toward the door. "I always do." And that's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I was simply going to stop paying. And let them find out the hard way. I left Jason's apartment without another word. The anger in my chest was sharp, but beneath it, something else was settling in, a cold, quiet clarity. For months, I had been their safety net. Their invisible support system. And the truth was, they knew it. They just never thought I'd take it away. So I did. That very night, I logged into my bank account and canceled the automatic payments for their rent and utilities. No warnings. No explanations. Just a few clicks, and it was done. I sat back in my chair, staring at the confirmation screen. Jason and Lisa probably wouldn't even notice for a few weeks. Their rent wasn't due for another 2.5 weeks, and their utility bill had just been covered. They'd keep living like nothing had changed, blissfully unaware that the floor beneath them was already cracking. And I wasn't going to say a word. If they had the nerve to tell me, "Not our problem," then they could deal with their own mess when it came knocking. I slept better that night than I had in months. A month passed. At first, there was silence. No calls. No texts. Nothing. I imagined Jason and Lisa living their usual carefree routine, ordering takeout, streaming movies on my dime, and assuming the rent was magically handled, just like always. Then, the first call came. It was a Saturday afternoon when my phone buzzed. Jason's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring. A minute later, another call. Then another. I smirked, leaning back on my couch. So the landlord finally came knocking. A text followed next. Jason. Dude, what's going on? Just got a call from the landlord. Said rent wasn't paid? I ignored it. 5 minutes later. Jason. Bro, I thought you were covering this. What happened? I let him sweat. An hour later, another text. Jason. Dude, this is serious. We're already late on rent, and he's saying we only have a few days before he starts the eviction process. Call me. I finally replied with 2 words. Me. Not my problem. Then I put my phone on silent and went out to enjoy my day. By the time I got home that night, my phone was flooded with missed calls and frantic texts. Jason had officially entered panic mode. Jason. Dude, come on. This isn't funny. The landlord says we have 3 days to pay or we're out. Jason. You've always helped before, why stop now? Jason. Bro, answer me. Lisa. Wow, real mature. You should have told us if you weren't gonna cover it. Now we're about to be homeless because of you. Nice. I actually laughed at that one. Because of me? No, they were about to be homeless because they had been freeloading off me for nearly a year and never thought to prepare for a day when I might not be there to bail them out. I waited until midnight before replying. Just long enough to let them sit with their own choices. Me. Not my problem. The same exact words they had thrown at me when I needed help. The reaction was instant. Jason. Are you serious right now? Lisa. You're a selfish piece of garbage. Jason. I can't believe you're doing this to family. There it was. The family card. Funny how that only came up when they needed something. I tossed my phone aside and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up to a long voicemail from Jason. His voice was desperate. Listen, man, I know we've had our differences, okay? But you can't just leave us hanging like this. We've got nowhere to go. Lisa's freaking out. The landlord isn't giving us any more time. Just spot us this 1 month, and I swear I'll figure something out after. I almost considered responding. Almost. But then I remembered the way he had laughed when I asked for help. The way Lisa had smirked and dismissed me like I was nothing. I deleted the voicemail and went about my day. 3 days later, I got the final text. Jason. Thanks a lot, man. We got evicted. Hope you're happy. And you know what? For the first time in a long time, I was. The day after they got evicted, Jason showed up at my apartment. I knew he would. I was in the middle of making coffee when I heard the knocking, loud, rushed, angry. I took my time setting my mug down before walking to the door. When I opened it, there he was. Jason looked rough. His hair was a mess, his clothes wrinkled like he'd been wearing them for days. Lisa wasn't with him, which told me everything I needed to know. She had probably ditched him the second things got too real. Dude, what the hell? He snapped, pushing past me into the apartment. You seriously just let us get kicked out? I shut the door behind him and crossed my arms. I didn't let you do anything. You did that all on your own. Jason spun around, eyes wide with disbelief. Oh, come on, man. We didn't think you were just gonna stop paying. You should have given us a heads up. I raised an eyebrow. You mean the way you gave me a heads up before telling me my problems weren't your problem? His mouth opened, but no words came out. I let the silence stretch before continuing, my voice calm. I carried you, Jason. 4 months. Never asked for anything in return. The one time I needed a little help, you laughed in my face. Jason ran a hand through his hair. I didn't mean it like that, bro. I was just... He trailed off, shaking his head. Look, I messed up, okay? But we're family. I don't have anywhere else to go. I sighed, rubbing my temples. So what? You want to crash here now? Jason hesitated, then nodded. Just for a little while. Just until I figure things out. I stared at him. The audacity. I let out a small chuckle and shook my head. No. Jason's face twisted. What do you mean, no? I mean no, I repeated. You're on your own. Just like you told me. He let out a humorless laugh. Dude! Don't do this. Why not? I tilted my head. It's not my problem. Jason's jaw clenched. So that's it? You're just gonna leave me hanging? I shrugged. Guess you'll figure something out. You always do. His nostrils flared. He wanted to argue, needed to. But deep down, I think he already knew the truth. I wasn't his safety net anymore. Jason let out a sharp breath, shaking his head. Wow. You're really gonna be like this? I opened the door. Good luck, Jason. For a second, he just stood there, his expression caught between anger and something almost like regret. But in the end, he didn't apologize. Didn't try to make things right. He just muttered, "Whatever," and walked out. I shut the door behind him, locking it. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. For the next few days, I expected Jason to try again, to call, to text, maybe even show up at my door with a half-hearted apology. But instead, nothing. At first, I thought he was giving me the silent treatment, trying to make me feel guilty. But then I heard from a mutual friend that Jason had been bouncing from couch to couch, staying with whoever would take him in. Lisa, as I suspected, had left him behind the second things got tough. Apparently, she had moved back in with her parents, who, surprise surprise, refused to take Jason in. I won't lie. A small, petty part of me enjoyed the irony of it all. The guy who had laughed at me for struggling was now completely on his own. But that satisfaction didn't last long. One evening, about a week after he showed up at my place, I got a call from my mom. I sighed before answering. I knew what was coming. The second I picked up, she launched into it. What is wrong with you? I pinched the bridge of my nose. Hi, Mom. I'm doing well, thanks for asking. She ignored me. Jason told me what happened. You let your own brother become homeless? I let out a dry laugh. Let him? Mom, he had months to get his act together. He chose not to. That's not on me. He thought you'd keep helping him. You should have told him you were cutting him off. I closed my eyes. You mean the way he told me when he laughed in my face and said my struggles weren't his problem? She huffed. That's different. Is it? Silence. Then, her voice softened. Honey, he's your brother. You're supposed to look out for each other. I leaned back in my chair. Funny, I don't remember him looking out for me when I needed help. That was just... She sighed. Look, you know how Jason is. He makes dumb decisions, but he doesn't mean any harm. I scoffed. Mom, Jason always makes dumb decisions because he never faces consequences. He expected me to bail him out, just like always. And now that I didn't, he's running to you to make me the bad guy. She hesitated. I could tell she wanted to argue, but she knew I was right. Still, she couldn't let it go. So what, you're just going to let him struggle? Just do nothing? I took a slow breath and said, Yeah, Mom. I am. Because it's not my problem. Silence stretched between us. Then, finally, she let out a quiet, defeated sigh. I just wish you two could work things out. I didn't answer. Because the truth was, I had worked things out. I had finally learned that family isn't just about blood, it's about respect. And Jason had never respected me. So why should I keep sacrificing for someone who never would have done the same for me? Eventually, Mom muttered a quiet goodbye and hung up. I set my phone down, feeling lighter than I had in years. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I was just done. The next few weeks were quiet. No more calls. No more guilt trips. No more Jason trying to weasel his way back into my life. I thought about him sometimes, wondering how he was managing. Last I heard, he was still bouncing between friends' couches, still jobless, still searching for his next easy way out. Part of me expected him to come crawling back eventually, maybe with some half-hearted apology, maybe with a fake promise to pay me back. But he never did. Instead, I got another call. Not from Jason. From our landlord. At first, I was confused. Why would he be calling me? I hadn't lived in Jason's apartment. My name wasn't on the lease. I had just been the one paying it. Curious, I answered. Hello? Hey, the landlord said, his tone a little awkward. Listen, I know you don't technically live here, but I figured I'd give you a heads up. Your brother, well, he left a bit of a mess. I frowned. What kind of mess? He sighed. They trashed the place. Holes in the walls, garbage everywhere, stains I don't even want to identify. I was gonna keep the security deposit to cover some of it, but… He hesitated. Thing is, Jason never paid a security deposit. You were covering rent, so I guess he just never bothered. I clenched my jaw. Of course. So, what does this have to do with me? I asked. Well, the landlord exhaled. Technically, nothing. But Jason mentioned you were the one paying the rent before, and he, kind of implied that you might be willing to cover the damages. I actually laughed. A deep, genuine, you've got to be kidding me laugh. Let me get this straight, I said, still chuckling. Jason trashed the apartment, never paid a security deposit, never even paid his own rent, and now he thinks I'm going to clean up his mess? The landlord was quiet for a second. Then, in a much smaller voice, he muttered, Yeah, that's what I figured. I sighed, shaking my head. I'm sorry, man, but Jason made his choices. I'm not his safety net anymore. I hear you, the landlord said quickly. Just thought I'd ask. You know, in case you still cared. I smiled. I do care. Just not enough to bail him out. We hung up, and I sat back, shaking my head. Jason hadn't learned a thing. Even after everything, he was still trying to push his consequences onto me. But that wasn't my role anymore. I had spent too long being the one everyone depended on, the one who always cleaned up other people's messes. I had carried Jason for months, and when I finally needed something, he had laughed in my face. That wasn't family. That was using someone until they had nothing left to give. And I was done. For good. Another month passed, and Jason was nothing more than a distant thought in my mind. Without the weight of his bills dragging me down, my finances were finally stabilizing. I could breathe again. No more stretching my paycheck just to make sure he had a roof over his head. No more sacrificing my own stability for someone who never appreciated it. And let me tell you, it felt good. I started going out more. Treating myself to small things I had denied myself for months. A nice dinner here, a weekend trip there. Nothing extravagant, just little reminders that my money was mine again. Then, one evening, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. Hey man, it's been a while. Can we talk? I stared at it for a moment before realizing it was Jason. I debated ignoring it. But curiosity got the better of me. Me. Talk about what? The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, he sent. Jason. Look, I know I screwed up. I should have helped you when you needed it. I was being selfish. I get that now. I leaned back in my chair, reading the message twice. For a brief second, I considered the possibility that maybe, just maybe, Jason had finally learned his lesson. Then another message came through. Jason. I just need a little help, man. Nothing crazy. Just a place to crash for a week or two while I get back on my feet. And there it was. The same cycle. The same pattern. I could already see how this would play out. A week would turn into a month. A month into several. He'd have excuse after excuse for why he still wasn't working, why he still couldn't contribute, why it was somehow my responsibility to keep saving him. I had seen this movie before. And I wasn't sitting through the sequel. I took my time before responding. When I did, I kept it short. Me. Sorry. Not my problem. Seconds later, my phone started ringing. I watched Jason's name flash on the screen. I let it ring. When it stopped, another text came through. Jason. Are you seriously gonna do this to your own brother? I didn't reply. Because the truth was, he had done this to himself. I turned off my phone, stretched my legs out, and enjoyed the quiet. Jason had made his bed. Now he could lie in it, without my help. Days passed, and Jason never texted again. No more guilt trips. No more desperate calls. Just silence. At first I thought he might try one last time, maybe show up at my door again, maybe rope my mom into another lecture about family. But he never did. And honestly, that was fine by me. For the first time in years I felt free. No longer shackled to someone who only saw me as a walking ATM. No longer carrying the weight of someone else's irresponsibility. I had spent so much time feeling guilty, like it was my job to keep Jason afloat, to keep him from facing the consequences of his own laziness. But the truth was, the second I stopped enabling him, his life didn't fall apart. He just had to deal with his own choices for once. And that wasn't my burden to carry. A few weeks later, I ran into a mutual friend who had seen Jason recently. "Yeah, he's been bouncing between places," they said with a shrug. "Complains a lot, says nobody helps him, but I mean, he's fine. He's just gotta get his act together." I just smiled and nodded. I didn't feel anger anymore. Didn't feel bitterness. Just relief. Jason would figure it out. Or he wouldn't. Either way, it was his problem now. As for me, I was finally focusing on my life. And I wasn't looking back.